It is my pleasure to introduce the anchor leg of Athena Summit, our friends from Hello Sunshine. Always close strong, right? Always close strong, that's for sure. Built with the vision of Reese Witherspoon and an indomitable executive and creative team, Hello Sunshine has become a powerhouse in and beyond Hollywood. As a business, they've been featured recently on CNBC, Fast Company, the New York Times, Vanity Fair, and they are a favorite of the Oprah Winfrey Network. I have to admit, when I saw this photo in the New York Times, my first thought was, who wouldn't want to do business with this group? Smart, skilled, connected. My next thought was, I would not want to be on the other side of the table from them. I mean, seriously. They are really a formidable group, and we're so grateful to have them. Hello Sunshine is the producing force behind the Emmy-winning Big Little Lies, and a slate of shows and movies with some of the most sought-after creative talent in Hollywood. And yet, Hello Sunshine is much more than a production company. It is a burgeoning media brand on a mission to change the narrative for women, to change opportunities for women, and the influence of women. They are prolific deal makers, striking partnerships with HBO, Apple, Amazon, ABC, Hulu, AT&T, and I'm sure there are a few more just on their way here. Movies, television, books, podcasts, a video-on-demand network, and so many projects it's really hard to keep up with. And for perspective, this company is less than 2 years old. In addition, and relevant to Athena, Miss Witherspoon and Hello Sunshine are founding members of the Time's Up movement and at the forefront of the conversation around equal pay in Hollywood. I am really fired up to learn from this company. Are you guys ready? Moderating this discussion is Liane Mullin, Executive Vice President of Business Development for Full Picture, which helps clients like Google, Spotify, Victoria's Secret, Kim Kardashian tell their stories through content, strategic partnerships, and visibility. Please give a warm, warm welcome to our friends from Hello Sunshine, Sarah Harden, Lauren Levy Neustadter, Charlotte Coe. Thank you.
Hello. Well, I'm excited to learn from these ladies today. So to start off, why don't you guys tell us each what you do at the company, a little bit about your background, and the best piece of advice you've ever been given.
Should I start? Sarah Harden, I'm the CEO of Hello Sunshine, and look, part of my role with these wonderful women here in Reese is to set a culture that we think is going to drive our mission, and our mission drives us in everything we do. And so what's important, we'll talk about our storytelling and what shows up on screen, but we're also paying a lot of attention to the process of how we author our company as well as our content. And ultimately, that's the collective task of us all. My best piece of advice I've been given, it was really life advice that my mum gave to me when she was dying and I was in my early 20s, and she said, be kind even when you have the right not to be. And it actually turned out to be the best piece of career advice as well. And I will say, I think there's been many points in my career when I had the right not to be decent because I was not being treated decently, and I always thought about that. And it's really paid dividends in my career. People don't forget it, and they don't forget the way you walk through the world, and that's the best piece of advice I've been given.
I'm Lauren Neustadter. I'm the head of film and television for Hello Sunshine. I'm very privileged to work with these ladies and with Reese. I feel like my piece of advice isn't as touching as yours. My grandmother always said, say thank you loudly, and I've tried to remember that. But in terms of career advice, I was told that you don't get anything that you don't ask for. And I thought it was really great advice. And I've tried really hard to not be audacious in the asks. But I think when you're working really hard and you're hoping to achieve something beyond what you already have, it is important to ask for it and ask politely, but to speak up for yourself. So I've tried to do that as well.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Coe. I run digital media and programming for Hello Sunshine. That means all the pieces of the puzzle that most of you have on your phone in some way that incorporates into your daily content consumption routine. So it can be everything from social media to podcast, audiobooks, television on demand. We're on our DirecTV Now and DirecTV Hello Sunshine branded channel, and myriad other ways where you know you're getting it in zeros and ones at the time and the place that you are most likely to be consuming it. My background, I was the first head of original programming for Hulu. I've also worked at Marvel, GoPro, the Huffington Post, and I started my career at Fox Searchlight as an independent film creative executive. And there's been so much advice given to me. I found this question actually really challenging. I'd say one piece that stays with me was, and I say this because I think a lot of women often do not pursue operational jobs, and I think it's really important as a woman, if you're ambitious in business in particular, to not be afraid to run a business unit someday and have a P&L. And I remember reading this article in the New York Times years ago with Guy Kawasaki, one of the co-founders of Apple, and he said, well, first he said one of the worst jobs after college is to be a management consultant or investment banker, and I was a management consultant for 5 years. And then he said, because the thing that you should understand is everyone should know how to sell something, make something, or support something, and that those two career paths don't do either. I will say management consulting did do other things for me in terms of communication and seeing the big picture, but I never forgot that of like when I take a job or when I choose an opportunity, am I learning how to make something, sell something, or support something?
I love that. That's great. So when looking at the larger media landscape, we're seeing less and less companies emerge that are targeting a big, broad audience. There's definitely a trend towards niche, meaningful verticals and brands. Hello Sunshine's proven that that's a great approach. Tell us a little bit about your strategy. Tell us the
Do you want
secrets.
to start?
I'll start.
Kick us off.
Well, look, I think, firstly, you'd be crazy to start a new media brand in today's landscape. I mean, you look around, it's so competitive, it's noisy, it's crowded. We're all competing for someone's attention, and there's a lot of quality options out there. And so I think when you look at that landscape, and you've got big scaled players who control distribution, I think one of the ways to get cut through is, I mean, you have to stand for something if you're going to go launch something. And I think for us, when I first met Reese and she was incubating the idea of this company, she had a pretty fully formed view about what the white space was, and it was a storytelling-led brand, incorporating voices and stories that we were not seeing in our landscape, and in a modern media world, also being able to build that across the platforms where that storytelling across platforms where women were increasingly spending their time, and just saw these big white spaces. And I think as we're doing that, I think we've been trying to build a company with a lot of intention. We know the type of company we're trying to build. We know the stories we want to tell and who and how we want to tell them. And we're really trying to stick to that knitting. And it is this notion of an identity brand, and we talk about we're trying to build a brand of influence, not necessarily reach. I think reach comes with influence, and that means serving something that's excellent, because excellence is required to get cut through in a world where like good isn't necessarily going to get you an audience, and staying true to our mission in everything we do. And so that's very much what we're doing. We're doing that across multiple platforms. We're trying to do few things very well on those platforms, and really our goal is to build brand love and a relationship with community and consumers who know when they see something that's like, oh, Hello Sunshine made that.
I think also along those lines, it's about defining the promise and then delivering on it.
Yeah.
So for all of us, one of the best conversations that we have that's ongoing is, who are we? Who do we want to be? Who do we set out to be? Who are we learning that we are? Who do we aspire to be? And then how do we achieve those goals? And I think that one of the things that is unique and extraordinary about our company, that's actually different from a lot of entertainment and media companies, is we don't operate from a place of fear. We really operate from a place of passion and authenticity. And so the very first question is, do we love it? When we were trying to figure out together, I was saying it's an interesting thing that we're doing this today, in addition to it being the first day of production on our show, The Morning Show. that Reese is literally filming downtown at a restaurant, and I left to come here. It's also my 18-month anniversary at the company. And when I sat with Reese and was having a conversation about taking this job, it was really fun and exciting to define who we wanted to be in the film and television space. And a thing that she had always done as a producer was put women at the center of the story. But it was really exciting to sort of scratch the surface of that and just go deeper and deeper and say, okay, so always women at the center of the story, women driving the narrative. What else do we want? And it was like, we want to see women as the heroes of their own stories in completely unconventional ways. We want to feel a little bit of hope. It doesn't have to be rainbows and unicorns. We can deal with tough stuff, but at the end of it, when we're crying, it would be nice if the tears were tears with some hope in them, And then also, I think Big Little Lies was an extraordinary example of a project that she produced and starred in that inspired conversation. And I think people started talking about, you went in to watch the show with Reese and Nicole and this extraordinary ensemble of women, and you talked about domestic violence, and you talked about the ways that women treat each other. And it was really important stuff. And it didn't seem like what you were going for, but it was what you took away. And when you talk about water cooler conversation, it inspired it in the most organic way. And I think that is something that we are striving to do. So I think it's been really fun to look at, what is our brand, who do we hope to be, and then how can we achieve that?
I think to also piggyback on what they're saying, one of the other things that you're probably hearing through a thread of this is relevancy. Breaking through the noise is actually being there with the right message, the right story, on the right platform at the right time to the right audience. And it's super easy to sit up here and say that. It is actually extremely difficult to execute that, and to execute that at scale, like every day on a social channel or every year on a television show or film. Like, it is a true moving target about what will culturally resonate with people in a specific point in time. I think a perfect example of that is something like Handmaid's Tale at Hulu. There was a certain cultural resonance that show happened to just hit on a certain time. So I always say it's a combination of luck, hard work, and self-awareness that makes it possible to make a piece of content that truly, truly the audience will passionately say, oh, this feels so right to me in terms of where I am right now.
I think you guys touched on this a little bit, but Hello Sunshine is way more than a production company. It's definitely a mission-driven brand. And I would love to know, kind of in today's ecosystem, what are some of the things that you guys do to make sure that you're doing that every single day?
Shal, do you want to
Sure.
pick that up?
One of the recent things that we did, so we have this amazing partnership with AT&T DirecTV. And in addition to providing us with a video on demand channel and funding content for that channel, which includes Reese's first unscripted show, the folks there are very, very committed to underrepresented voices and paying it forward to the next generation of women creators. So they generously financed a program this summer for 21 girls in high school, mostly from underprivileged backgrounds. And we hosted them in LA for 8 days. Half of them almost were from out of state. And they were able to interview the top women in the business, not only in front of the camera, but people who were running, like the president of post-production at Paramount, for example, and really get a clear picture of what are the jobs available in our industry, in addition to interviewing Reese herself and making a short form documentary about what does it mean to be a woman storyteller in Hollywood. So that is one example where paying it forward is a huge part of our mission, and we were so fortunate to have a corporate partner who is willing to underwrite it for us, and then Reese's time, passion, and commitment to making it happen.
That's great.
For us, we're making sure that we're not just telling stories about women, but we are empowering women to tell those stories. And it doesn't mean that we are exclusively working with women. We also think there are some extraordinary men who write women very well or direct women very well. So we want to see diversity across sort of really we talk about in front of and behind the camera, but we're always seeking out extraordinary women to write for us, to direct for us, to consult for us, seeking out extraordinary female authors. It's a really exciting time in Hollywood. I think it's a time that is really full of hope and opportunity, and we're seeking to create opportunity wherever we can.
Yeah, I think the other thing I'd add, I think as we build this media brand, I think one of the reasons Reese had a very successful career as a producer, and she's had a long history, whether it's Gone Girl to Wild and Big Little Lies. And I think part of the extension in Hello Sunshine is we talked about being able to connect these water cooler conversations in more of a day. As you build a brand, how do we build a daily conversation with an audience? And I think one of the things as we do that is, and it's a challenge and it's something we talk about every day, but we've from premium film and TV to our unscripted shows on our Hello Sunshine On Demand channel, to our social storytelling formatted specifically for the platforms they're going to be on, whether that's YouTube, Facebook, to our daily audience building with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, to our YouTube channel, to we've got a podcast slate that we're building, and we have a long form audible storytelling. All of those things take very specific and different skill sets. And I think one of the things as you build a brand, we're talking about our creative mission, but being really incisive as we build the company, how you build skill sets that are film and TV, totally different conversations, different commercial deal making than a podcast slate than others. So we have a singular mission, but we've been really thoughtful, I think, about with the skill sets of our exec team and then how we're building the company under the hood, because you can spend a lot of money making content and have nothing to show for it at the end of it if you're not very thoughtful, intentional about that. And I think one of the things that characterizes, certainly we've tried to do in the first 18 months or 2 years of this business, be very intentional about what we're trying to do and put the resources against it and not be in too much of a rush. I mean, this is our life's work. I mean, it really is. It's Reese's life's work. It's an extension of the work that she's been doing for many years. And so that's the sort of, we have a 10-year view about how we're trying to build each of those kind of storytelling engines and areas and build a relationship with an audience that we hope will last a long time.
Charlotte, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was breaking through the noise. And so I think when we look at digital, it's such a broad term now. There's so many platforms, so many things that come into play. How do you guys continuously create content that does break through the noise?
Well, I think you first have to start with who are we talking to and which digital platforms are they spending their time on? Because not all platforms, as you know, are created equal. In our case, we have a huge commitment towards millennial women and Gen X women. Instagram is the platform that is currently serving that audience and growing rapidly organically. And as a startup, we have to think hard about trade-offs and resources, and you want to go where the organic growth seems to be rising the fastest. And if you look at other digital media brands that are now well established, you'll see a pattern where they happen to be putting their eggs in the basket on a digital platform that at that moment in time was also growing exponentially. So if you look at something like Vice, you know that it was YouTube's, I always joke it's like surfing, you got to catch the wave. If the wave passes you by, you can't ride that wave again. Same thing with BuzzFeed and the publishers on Facebook for a specific amount of time. They rode that wave. I think right now we feel like Instagram is a big wave for us to be riding. And in terms of breaking out from the noise with the content itself, part of it is a combination of living out our mission of underserved voices. And what that really is about is that originality comes from places that are unexpected and surprising. I mean, I think when people say break for the noise, what that really means is, did you surprise these folks in a good way? Because if you could do that in a time when everything is Googleable and it's very difficult to surprise anyone about anything, then you are actually delivering on, like what Lauren is talking about, a promise to them of I'm going to be additive to your life in some way. And that is really what so many of these mission-driven companies, what does that really mean? That means like we are together in service of an audience, and we understand that audience and are speaking to them in an authentic, bespoke, and often like just an unexpectedly delightful way that could be a moment of humor, which is really important to our brand, could be a statistic that you didn't know that makes you think harder about something, could be a trailer for a new piece of content that maybe we didn't even make, but is actually something that we feel that our audience would be really excited to learn about.
One of the things that's interesting is you guys all spoke a lot about what you're doing for an outward-facing, mission-driven company, but I'd love to hear what you guys do at Hello Sunshine for the actual company culture. Because I know for me, sometimes I can get so busy working, I'm thinking, am I still propelling the culture, and how are we doing that? And I'd love to know how you guys each contribute to that.
Well, gosh, it's really humbling to build a company, and I think we all felt like we had the opportunity to build a company that we all would have loved to have worked in the last 20 years. And But it's humbling and hard to do. I mean, we're about 25 people, I will say, right from the start, and we haven't gotten everything right. But right from the start, we've had multiple values and culture offsites. We've really prioritized that, and it's a constant conversation. So we set an intention. We have a set of values we've written down. Every employee, when I walk through the door, we talk about it in the interview. And we talk about those. We're a mission-driven company in everything we do. We're an excellence machine. We're better together. We are world-class DIYers. We talk about the fact that we can, no job's above us and no job is beneath us. We can sell a huge TV show and we all can unstack the dishwasher. And we're humans who show up. We show up for each other. We show up for all of it. And so we've been intentional about that. And then we really have a lot of conversations about where we're doing well and where we're not. We have a very straightforward culture, and we've set that together. And so we've tried to be really intentional about that. And at the end of the day, I think our mission, when I say our mission drives us, it's everything. None of us are more important than the mission. And Reese has really set the tone for this right from the start, because this company was not about her. In fact, her founding commitment to the company, so important to her, is that this is about elevating other women, other voices. She is the leader of all of it, but that commitment was there from the start. And so I think we've tried to I've certainly been through experiences and seen other startups that think about culture way too late. The reality is, from the day you have a single employee, you're setting culture. And so we've tried to be very thoughtful, intentional, and it's never going to end. And so we were together for a day offsite 10 days ago where we were doing that work together, and then working to bring that to life with our teams, and setting a culture where our team members are absolutely as part of forming that as we are.
I remember there was one day when on Instagram I saw a cool post. I don't remember who posted it, but it said, "Empowered women empower women." And I sent it to Reese as a message. I was like, this is really sappy, but I love you and thank you so much. It's an interesting thing. I've worked for a lot of women. This company is so unique because Reese and Sarah are empowered women who empower women, and also men. We have men at the company, and they are awesome. But I think we really try to, a few. I think we always talk about being collaborative, not competitive. And I think, at least on my side, I've spent the better part of 15 years working in this industry and working for individuals who felt very competitive with me. And just to work in a place where we're all coming together to create something that is meaningful to us, to our boss, and hopefully to our audience who we serve, it's just an extraordinary thing. But to do it with a team that is so linked, it is really extraordinary. And I think Sarah and Reese set a great example of how we should be.
I also say, from a brass tacks perspective, we're very careful about interviewing people, because the cultural fit is so key. It's not enough that someone has the skills and experience. In fact, I'd rather see someone who has 60 to 70% of the skills and experience, but has the right type of openness, adaptability, because the startup requires infinite adaptability, comfort with uncomfortable situations, the ability to handle decision-making in an ambiguous environment, extreme ownership, accountability. Those are the things that,
low ego.
Great work ethic.
I know you're all dying to work here now, right? We also have fun, but I also think part of it is really around making sure that it's a little bit like Moneyball. You're trying to put together the best possible team with as many different perspectives as you can possibly have, right? It's the Moneyball team. And then on top of that, I think we do try to live out the values that we think it's important, for example, for women to have financial literacy, having control of your financial life from an early stage. One of the things we did is we brought in a young woman who used to be a chemist, and she decided to go into financial planning specifically to handle female clients. And we brought her in, and anybody who wanted to sit in got an hour and a half of free advice and could have a private free session with her. about how to plan for buying your first condo or whatever it may be. So we do try to provide extra things for the employee base that we feel is additive and is also like what we're trying to share with our community at large.
So we've kind of joked about your 2 token male employees, but in general, how do you guys think about males in projects in the company?
This is a really important question. I do not think we can talk about the importance of diverse perspectives in driving better outcomes and not have men in the conversation, in our boardroom, in our writers' rooms, in our employee base. So it's not it's actually very intentional for us. I think it's also important to address, like, the first thing we have to do is, this is an industry at every level where women have been structurally silenced from the authorship process, whether it's female directors, whether it's creative in ad agencies, whether it is below the line team members. I mean, we drive 50% of the box office. So that's our first thing to fix. Bringing women of color, people of color, otherized people into the authorship process. And so we're not shy about that, but that does not leave men out. And it's really, it's funny. It's interesting to have the conversations where for 15 years, you're saying, I want to see a woman in this candidate pool. I need to see a person of color in this candidate pool. And we're saying, I need to see men in this candidate pool. And we are. For hires, we're saying, I need a man in this stack of people. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's like Freaky Friday. It's reversed. But I think we're very intentional about building a company that embraces values and provides opportunities for diverse perspectives to show up in our storytelling.
I think Abby Wambach says something about that, doesn't she? About how, like, the opposite of patriarchy is not matriarchy.
Yeah.
It's equality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you guys define success for Hello Sunshine or your respective projects?
I think there are a lot of different ways. I think we're successful if we're making our content, if people are reading the books that book club is recommending, if we're making television shows, if we're making movies, if we're making podcasts, if you're enjoying our Insta feed, I think that's success because we're engaging with you and hopefully, again, inspiring conversation. I also think it's nice, I feel like we're successful when we're able to confidently stand where we are and stand in our truth as a company. And sometimes that means passing on something. A lot of times it means passing on something, but it means that when you have a property that you love, to embrace it, to hold it, to nurture it, to be very thoughtful and strategic about how you put it together, at least for me, speaking on the film and television side, how do I put the puzzle pieces together with my team? How do we find the right people to bring this to life? And then you take it into the marketplace and you set it up at the place that is going to love it like we love it, and that is going to connect with the audience that we know will love it. And then help us to realize the vision in the way that we hope to. It's exciting to see things come to life. When you sit on set and you realize that it started in a room where you were pitching, or it started with reading a book in your bed and loving it, and now you're on set, and these incredible actresses and actors are saying these words, and you worked so hard on the script. It's like, it's the most exciting and gratifying thing. And then to see audiences enjoy it is even more gratifying. So it's success, baby steps, and then the big stuff.
I think thought leadership and pop culture is very important for a media brand. And when you think about the conversations around Big Little Lies that came out about domestic violence, for example, that's a great place. We've also been very fortunate with Book Club in actually getting people into the top 10 New York Times bestseller list when their book debuts. Sometimes, like, we had this beautiful book called Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. It was Delia's first fiction book. She's over the age of 60. She lives in rural Idaho outside of any cell service. And it was life-changing. Like, her book debuted at number 9 and went up to number 5 on hardcover fiction. And those are the things where if you're helping to change in a positive way, not only one individual's life, but with that example, inspiring other people to understand that, yes, it is possible and you can see it happening. I think we're at a point where elevating other people to have greater confidence in themselves is a huge part of are we being successful or not. There's always the obvious metrics. Like I went to film school here and I had a professor who goes, make money and win awards. That's what really matters. And he's right to a certain degree. But I also think there's a much larger thing at stake for us collectively as a society about like, is our media a force for good? And is it actually breaking down the walls and allowing more people to be heard?
Yeah, I mean, to tie those two things together, I think, our mission is to change the narrative for women, and that's driven by this belief that we think storytelling can change culture, and when we change culture, we change the way women get to walk through the world. And that's a mission I think we're going to be on for the rest of our careers. I think what's really linked to that is you don't get to single-handedly, and we talk about, we're not asking for a seat at the table. We're here at this company trying to create our own table, a really long, long, long table with a lot of seats at it. I love you, Robin Ward, thank you. But you don't get to do that unless you control your destiny as a company. So part of our success, and I'm not shy about it, none of us are, we are amazing deal makers. I will say that. We have our shit together on the business side of this company because we cannot control our destiny and say, no, 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 that's not for us if we don't control the authorship of this company. And it absolutely is about controlling our capital, the choices we make, and making sure that all of what shows up on the screen shows up in our books because money is power. And we get to author our own destiny to the extent that we build a really financially successful company. So we are laser focused on beautiful storytelling, but we're very, very incisive under the hood about how we build the company. And one of the things that gets back to our values as well, we talk about in our company, you're all creative people and you're all business people. In a converged world, you cannot, and we give opportunities for our development team to sit and walk through our financials. We present our budgets to the whole team. We invite questions about how podcasting monetization works or how this works because we will have the ability to keep rolling if we build a financially successful company. And it's a big part, those two things all those things go hand in hand. We get to keep changing the cultural conversation if we build a financially strong company.
I agree. That's the total foundation of a strong company. It's
Yep.
amazing. I love hearing you say that. I'm on the operational side of things, so I love that. So some of us have known each other since we were in the assistant pool together. I won't say how long ago that was. But so what would be your advice for people starting out today?
Find mentors. Number one thing. Seek out mentors. Even if the job is a lesser job. If you are working for a person who has a reputation for taking care of people who take great care of them, I think there is such value in that. I've done jobs for people who are less likely to pick up a phone and go out of their way, and jobs for people who have a huge amount of gratitude. And so my philosophy, I always say when someone's coming to work for me, I'm like, you take care of me for however long you're working for me, and I will take care of you for the rest of your life. And that is my hope, and that is my goal, and that is my pledge. But to find people who will do that for you and really take you under their wing, mentors are hard to come by, but invaluable when you find them.
I would say listen very actively and observe very carefully, because one of the most interesting things when you're starting out is figuring out where will I fit in and what is the path I want to take. Because Lauren's right, mentors are really important, but you don't even know what your mentor looks like if you haven't figured out who you want to emulate to a certain degree. And I say listen and observe because people say things and then their actions might actually say something else. So the observational quality is really important at the beginning. I think the other thing is to know that it's okay to not know everything, that it's okay to be curious and ask questions at the right time, and that people really respect someone who's self-aware enough to say, I would love to do this for you, or I would love to have an answer for you, but I actually don't have all the information, and I'm either gonna go get it, or think about that problem-solving mentality that's so important in the beginning, and don't be afraid to go to your peers and kind of have a collective gathering of information to try and solve problems together. It is not ambition is not about doing the road by yourself. Ambition is really about figuring out where do I belong on a team, what's the right team for me, and how do I become the best player on that team.
Yeah, I would echo that great
I
advice.
really like that.
I wish I'd followed some of it earlier in my career. I have two things. I think one, I'm always struck by how distinguishing like mindset is and attitude is. And we talk all the time. I used to really, in the first 10 years of my career, I used to hire much more for skills and expertise. I mean, it's so much more those athleticism skills. And I don't mean that literally. I mean, do you have a mindset? Do you have resilience? Are you decent natured? Do you pick yourself up after something goes wrong? Are you self-aware? Do you have high EQ? And I think just don't undervalue how important attitude is. It is so important. And I think people undervalue that and overvalue skills sometimes. And I think the second thing I would say is just develop a point of view, whatever it is. If you are a creative, develop a point of view about what things you like, writers you like, directors you like, shows you like. If you're a business person, develop a point of view about companies that are out there that are interesting or not. Just practice, because it takes practice, but developing a point of view, which is really about developing your voice, which has some thought to it, and you just can't practice that soon enough. I love someone at even the most junior levels having a point of view about something where they've thought through it. So,
I love the hustle. I hired my last assistant because she walked into our office and asked if there were any openings. And I thought, if you can actually come here and walk in with your resume versus just emailing it out to a bunch of people, I'm like, she gets 20 minutes of my time, and I ended up hiring her at the end of it.
yeah.
So we have to wrap up soon, but I would love to hear from each one of you guys something that you're really excited about that you're working on right now.
I know what yours is. It started today.
It started today. No, the thing, the show that we just started is so exciting. But I think the thing that ties into the mission of the company and also the ways that we all work together is a book called Little Fires Everywhere, which hopefully most of you, many of you have read. It's the most extraordinary book by an author named Celeste Ng. And Reese and I read it very early. We read it in May, it published in October. We joined forces with Kerry Washington and her producing partner. Reese and Kerry will star together. We will all produce together. We brought on an incredible showrunner. Her name is Liz Tigalar, who connected to this book in the same profound ways that we did. And we put this package together. We were able to, through book club, the book is extraordinary. And it would have, sorry, that wasn't good. I'll hold this. Hello. It would have really stood out on its own. I think that our book club started a great conversation around it. It stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for a long time. It's sold over 1 million copies, and it's continuing to sell and ignite conversation. After it came onto the New York Times bestseller list and was on basically every best 10 books of the year list, took it out into the marketplace, and we had multiple bidders. We wound up selling it to Hulu. We have started a writer's room. If you are interested, go to #ShowMeYourRoom. Show us your room, excuse me, show us your room. And you will see our writer's room, which is the most gorgeous writer's room you could ever imagine. I won't give it away because I'd like you to go check it out. And now we are, I'm about to read the script for episode number 2. We hope to be making it next summer. It's been the most gratifying and exciting journey, and it all started with this beautiful author and this story that she told so magnificently, and then we get the honor of helping bring it to life.
I have 2 things. One is we have our second podcast is out called My Best Breakup. And it's actually not just about romantic breakups. We talk a lot at Hello Sunshine about how the words transformation, agency, and ambition are things that often characterize the content that we are making. And My Best Breakup is about breaking up with things like negative body image, breaking up with in one case, it's someone who left being a nun, so it's breaking up with Jesus. There's, breaking up with just the things that are pivotal in your life that are really a turning point, and how endings that might be difficult are actually really interesting new beginnings. And yesterday we were downtown recording with Hannah Gatsby, for those of you who've seen Nanette on Netflix. And Hannah's
She's Australian,
episode,
I'd like to point out.
she's from Tasmania. She gave the most amazing intro at the Emmys for the Best Director category, and her breakup is with self-deprecation. And it's a really exquisite, for those of you who've seen Nanette, you'll know that breaking up with self-deprecation is a big part of this huge change in the type of comedy she does. So that's been just sort of amazing to witness this conversation with her and Maeve Higgins, who's the host, who's an Irish comedian. And then the second thing is we're working on our documentary feature about Martina Navratilova, not just as a tennis player, but really as a true activist and a person who embodies a woman living out her truest ambition, but also remembering sort of, to be a whole human being along the way, and to think about other folks who are beside her. And Glenn Greenwald, who won the Oscar for Citizen4, is one of the producers. And it's just been this it's a nascent journey, but we're about to attach a director who will speak with authenticity and legitimacy from that community and be able to really add another dimension. And our hope is that the film will not only be the first foray into female sports for Hello Sunshine, but truly cross over to people who don't necessarily know much about tennis, but really want to see the story of a woman who has, at 61, still competes in Wimbledon in the Legends tournament and made it to the semifinals. So, it's truly one of those things of, and the story, by the way, is, to go back to the question about why are men important, it's actually about Glenn as a teenager who was closeted in Florida growing up, and he said seeing Martina Navratilova come out was the first time in his life he felt seen and felt important. So I thought it was such, we thought, what a unique story about a man who is looking up to a woman as the role model, the mentor, the hero. And those are things that I think have never been done before, which is always exciting.
And then we had a plan in 2019 to do our first live events. We thought it was really important. I think a testament of how you're building connection is seeing if people will show up with you in real life. But true to form, we're actually going to kick off our 10-city event tour on Saturday, the Hello Sunshine X Together live tour. So we've got amazing, our goal for this, it's the sort of tagline for the tour is our stories travel, but you are home. And we're taking storytellers to towns and communities, accessible ticket prices, amazing storytellers and talent from Reese, Cheryl Strayed, Brene Brown, Glennon Doyle, Abby Wambach. Every tour stop is 3 hours in the evening. We have amazing musicians, Milk, Cam, amazing feminist comedians, and
Yara Shahidi.
Yara Shahidi, the list goes on. If you go to togetherlive.com, unfortunately there isn't an LA tour date. And we've created a couple of series, and we'll be creating a podcast from that tour. But there's a bunch of the company, we're all going on different parts of that tour over the next 2.5 weeks. So that's a big milestone for us with our tiny, powerful team, with amazing partners at Together. So we're really excited about that.
Congrats. Well, thank you guys again for coming. I know how busy you all are, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Don't go too far. Did you take a lot of notes? Take a lot of notes? That's an MBA. That's a master's class in entrepreneurship that just happens to be a media brand. So you got $119,000 worth of information in that 45 minutes. Just so grateful to them. How many people would like to work with Hello Sunshine? Raise your hands.
Oh my goodness, so
How many people wish we could invest in Hello Sunshine? This may be one of the best run companies that just happens to be in Hollywood. We are just so grateful you made the time, and thank you to Liane for moderating the discussion. I'd like to invite up two students to help us with an announcement and a presentation. Please welcome Alexandra Pinkney and Pearl Keene. Come on up.
Hi, Charlotte, Lauren, Sarah. I'm Alexandra, first year MBA.
I'm Pearl Keene. I'm a senior studying social entrepreneurship at the Brittingham Social Enterprise Lab within Marshall.
This has been incredibly inspirational to hear how Hello Sunshine intentionally positions itself to be a brand that pushes influence over reach. On behalf of Marshall and Annenberg, we would like to thank you for your time, both here today and recently at Annenberg. To show and demonstrate our appreciation, we'd like to present you our first ever Athena Award to thank you for the inroads that you're making and the commitment that Hello Sunshine has made to enhance the representation and presence of women in entertainment.
Oh, wow, that's so nice.
And secondly,
We're not done yet.
and secondly, to recognize how you guys are bringing women up and just creating a space for women in society and having their voices heard. The Greif Center for Entrepreneurial Studies and its master's program has now started 2 scholarships for Hello Sunshine for incoming women who are looking to study entrepreneurship at the USC's Marshall School of Business.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I'm
That's so nice.
I know, it's like, thank you very much. Too.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Reese will be very excited.
Oh my goodness, you have to text a
I know,
photo
we
of
have
it
to
to
text
her.
her right after.